And all right, so this is a very unique webinar we're doing today, and if it's just us, that's totally cool. I did expect a small group today, especially since it's dubbed as a discussion. So I'll say this again: if you're open for participating in the conversation, leave your camera on. If you are not interested in participating in conversation, you just want to listen, which is totally cool. Or if you have background noise, like my friend Carol, then leave the camera off, and that way we'll know whether we should or should not pick on you or let you talk. So, hey Lisa, you know what I'd like to do, Jeff?
Yeah.
So Jeff and I are the hosts today. My name's Dave Will. I'm with PropFuel. I'm the co-founder and CEO. Jeff, my friend, is the co-founder and CEO of Wicket. I love this topic today, which is, shoot, I don't have the title in front of me, but something about getting stuff done. This is about getting stuff done. That's what the topic's all about. I'd love to do, given that it's such a small group, I just want to find out who's here. Robson is on my team with PropFuel. Bob, can we just go around the horn? Can you introduce yourself, name, an organization, and title?
Sure. Well, good morning or good afternoon, wherever you are. My name is Bob Lane. I am the president and CEO of the American College of Healthcare Administrators, calling in from Edmond, Oklahoma.
Awesome. Thank you. Theo, if you're listening and available, can you tell us who you are and who you're with? Meenakshi?
Hi there.
Hi.
Meenakshi Pai, Director of Marketing and Communications at RealPAC, which is the Real Property Association of Canada, calling in from Toronto.
Awesome. Thank you. Mona?
Hi, I'm Mona Johnson. I work for an association management company called the Reese Group here in Madison, Wisconsin. I have two clients, the International Society of Amyloidosis and the Association of University Cardiologists.
Thank you. Paul?
Hey guys, Paul Leahy, Director of Member Services with the, hold on, it's a mouthful, Transportation Intermediaries Association. Excited to be here.
Thanks. Tracy?
I'm the executive assistant at CASE, Canadian Accredited Independent Schools, and we support independent schools across Canada.
Good to see you, Tracy.
Yeah, good to see you. I'm calling in from Niagara region of Ontario, Canada.
Beautiful. Thank you. Lisa? Oh, can't hear you. Oh, there you are. We got you. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. That's it. AirPods probably took a second to kick on. Hi, everyone. I am Lisa Sedgwick. I am the membership manager at the American Association of Nurse Practitioners, coming to you from Austin, Texas. And I am going to pop my video off just so I can eat my lunch.
No worries. Go ahead. But at least we know that you're here and engaged and willing to talk if something comes up. Good. Thank you. Ginger?
Hi, Ginger Oslis. I'm the VP of IT at my association, AACSB International. We are a international accreditation association for institutions of higher ed.
Excellent. So I'm going to call, your cameras are off, but I'm going to call your name. And if you can, come off mute, tell us who you are. Michelle?
Hi, everyone. Michelle Yoon with the National Association of Energy Service Companies. Very small niche in the, I guess, construction / energy efficiency area industry. Manager of operations. Happy to be here.
Excellent. Thank you, Michelle. Amy?
Hi, I'm Amy Beckrich, Director of Projects and Operations for the Renal Physicians Association. So we're a medical association based in Rockville, Maryland that serves the U.S.
You work with my friend Rose Butts, don't you?
I absolutely do.
Yeah.
We're a very small staff. I know Rose very well.
she makes me happy.
Yes,
Carol, can you introduce yourself or?
Okay, the machine's quit for a second. Sorry, it's really loud. You won't be able to hear me if I have it running.
I was about to introduce you for you, but go ahead.
I'm Carol House, and I'm the Executive Director and CEO for the American Osteopathic College of Radiology.
Thank you. Coulter?
Hey, you're just listening in. Happy to be here. I actually work
Excellent.
with Jeff, so I'm just a silent observer.
That's right. Who are you with, Coulter?
Coulter's on our team at Wicket.
Oh, cool. Good. All right. Hi, Coulter. Rebecca?
Oh, sorry, I just joined, but I'm guessing we're introducing yourselves.
Yeah. Nice. So just for you and Jennifer, who I'm going to pick on next, Jennifer, this is a very small group of people compared to the typical webinar that we do. And so Jeff and I want to turn this into a discussion. Don't worry, we're going to lead it and we're going to do a lot of the talking, but we really, really want you guys to participate, which is why we turned on all your cameras. And I'm not going to repeat this for Elisa, who's joining us right now, but needless to say, she'll pick up. So that's what we're doing here. And I figured given that there's such a small group of people, I thought it would be good for us to just introduce ourselves. So go ahead, Rebecca, with that.
Got it. Thank you. So Rebecca Linto, Executive Director at the Society of Tribologists and Lubrication Engineers, which is a long way of saying I work with chemists and mechanical engineers.
What is a tribologist?
It's a scientist or a chemist that works with perfecting motion, so how things move. So think lubricants and oils and greases and all things scientific.
Cool. All right, thank you. Jennifer.
And we're based in Chicago.
Okay, thank you.
Jennifer Ludinger, Society of Breast Imaging. I'm the Senior Director of Education and Meetings.
All right, Jennifer. So I want to tell you guys something. SBI was PropFuel's very first customer in the association space. So Jennifer, I don't know if you knew that, but thank you for being here.
Yep, we love it.
Yasmin is an old friend of mine that goes way, way back. So welcome. And I see Elisa isn't quite connected to audio yet, so we'll leave her alone. All right. With that, is there anyone I left out? Anybody I missed? All right. Good. So thank you for joining us. This is it's a weird one today. But Jeff and I wanted to have fun. Jeff and I did a fireside chat that was a little more organized than this a month or two ago, and we had fun doing it. Not a lot of slides, really easy to prepare for. Jeff and I get together and we chit chat about the topic that we want to get into, and that's kind of what leads to this conversation. But today we decided to take it one step further and make it a meeting instead of a webinar. And so I hope we prepped you enough. I hope we're not taking you by surprise too much. And again, turn on your camera if you're willing to get involved. And with the exception of Carol, I'm going to involve you in it. Well, we'll see. But turn on your camera if you're willing to get involved and have a conversation. If not, we'll leave you alone. So you have a choice of sitting back and listening or participating. And that's totally, totally up to you. Believe me, if you can't tell by now, I'm willing and able to carry on a conversation all by myself. So with that, today's topic, and I'm going to start by sharing my screen because it all begins with Zoom. It all begins with, well, the topic today, because I forgot what it was, something along the lines of how to free up your time for you and your team, how to get stuff done. And I want to start the dialogue with this cartoon, which I sent out in a blog post not too long ago. Tell him we haven't got time for any of his bright ideas. We got a battle on our hands. And so I'm going to, that cartoon that one of my employees sent out into our Slack got me thinking quite a bit about the conversations I've had with association execs. And oftentimes what I hear is how much you're under fire, how busy you are. You have so much going on, went from conferences to new AMSs to maybe a new marketing system. You have so much stuff on your plate. It's hard to carve out time to think, let alone focus on a new project. Is that fair to say? Show of hands if you would agree with that. Yeah, I'm actually curious if you don't agree with that. I'm curious. Thanks, Avi. I can never find those hand raise emojis fast enough to actually make them count. But if you don't agree with that, I'd be very curious. Like if you've figured out a way to carve out time to think about how to do business better, tell me right now. Put it in chat or jump in and say so. I'd like to know. All right, fair enough. I will say, somebody scolded me for not growing as a leader on my board. Somebody scolded me and said, Dave, you're not growing. You know what I did, Jeff? I carved out time in my calendar. You know what I call it? I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you my calendar, and this could be a little embarrassing because I don't know what I have in there.
Special thinking time as a.
Yeah. Hang on. I'm going to show you what I did. It's every week. Here's my calendar for this week, by the way. So every week, look at this one right here. 7:30, 9:45 on Thursdays. Every week, I have something carved out that says think. And so far, I did it once. It's new though. So there's that.
That's the challenge.
Yeah, it's going pretty well, to be honest. In a way that the first time I did it, it's amazing what goes through your mind when all you have is a cup of coffee and a pad. All right. So having said that, that's the problem I wanted to put out there for us, is that I think oftentimes, whether you're a vendor like Jeff and me, or whether in associations, that it affects everybody, where we get so inundated with stuff, we forget to think, we forget to, or we don't have time to figure out how to do things better because we're running around trying to get everything done that's right in front of us. All right. So with that, I want to give you a brief qualification. I want to tell you why I think I'm qualified to at least facilitate this conversation. My entire career, I'm 52 now, my entire career, it started around 20, 21 years old, was centered around working with technology and process. It starts with process, though, identifying as is process and to be process, figuring out the gap in between and applying technology to make it better. My entire career has been centered around working with the organizations at PricewaterhouseCoopers as a consultant, at Nielsen when I was helping our clients with their data. And then I started my first company, a learning management system for associations. And currently, it's Freestone for community brands. And then even with PropFuel, everything I've done in my career has been centered around taking an existing process and making it better, easier, more automated, and more effective using technology. And so that's the direction I want to go with this conversation. And as I promised in the advertisement for this, Jeff and I are not going to pitch you until the very end. We are going to pitch you. Don't be silly. Of course we are. We're not going to do it till the very, very end, in which case it's like, why does this webinar apply to PropFuel? Why does it apply to Wicket? That's all we're going to tell you at the end. And of course, we'd love to have you for a demo at that point. But this really is a discussion to figure out how to process better. Jeff, why are you so qualified to be here?
Well, just by association, by knowing you, Dave, really. No, but seriously, like Dave, I've spent a lot of years now working in technology, and almost 25 years now working with associations in technology in a lot of different ways, a lot of focus on web and web applications and software. And now with Wicket, our member data platform and our web solutions. So much of that is focused on, how can we automate? How can we do things better? How can technology be leveraged? And we ourselves as a company, as a startup, put a lot of thought into how can we be more focused? How can we make sure we're moving our key priorities as an organization forward, knowing we still got to do the day-to-day job, but having that tied to our vision and where we're trying to go as a company. And I think that there's things that, associations can learn from the way we as software companies think about that and kind of some of the tools and things we use. So I think there's lots of interesting places we could take the conversation today, Dave.
Yeah. It's something I want to add to this. You and I are the software people here, along with Coulter and Robson. But I want to say this adamantly. I am a peer of yours. I've been in the association space. I'm an association professional first and foremost. Been working in associations and attending ASA since the early 2000s, like 2003 or so. So first and foremost, I am not on the other side of anything. I am with you. I am completely invested, as I know Jeff is. I am completely invested in our industry. I love it. And I'm a part of it, and I'm glad you're all here. The fact that you're here tells me that you're also invested in wanting to learn. I just posted in the chat.
Hey, Mona, do you have a question or something you wanted to throw in?
Yeah, I wanted to play devil's advocate right in the beginning here. And like you guys, I started my career in the telecom industry, so in technology, and used to love it. Lately, I feel like the tech solutions raise expectations maybe 100%, and they support what we're trying to do 65%. And so it ends up being worse. I would rather sometimes throw people rather than technology at some of these problems, because the expectations have gone up so much, and the bandwidth of the people, the staff we have is limited. I don't know if that's the experience the rest of you have.
Can you expand on that a little, maybe with an example without necessarily throwing any vendor under the bus?
Yeah.
Can you expand on it either generally or very specifically? What do you mean?
Maybe more generally, our members for both the associations I work with, you can ask them to fill out forms all day long, and in the end, sometimes what they want is the human touch. They don't want to fill out this long survey. They want to talk with somebody, and they want to talk some about their personal life and then some about business. And I just ran a meeting in Athens, and it made me think more about this. Athens, Greece. I think the unemployment rate is higher there, and we were at a hotel, and they really, I mean, instead of one AV guy for a small workshop, we had 3. Instead of 3 waiters at lunch, we had 13. So I was constantly going to the ATM and pulling out money to tip everybody. But it was a really nice, personal, hands-on experience. Everyone felt supported. Not a huge, I don't think their systems were very good at all, actually, but it was a great experience. And it just made me think some more about, are we using technology in the right way? And is that what our members really want?
I love that point, Mona. And I'm going to Greece in 2 weeks.
Okay, have fun. It's wonderful.
So here's what I love about that point. It is my position that technology is there to allow humans to do what they do best.
Yeah.
That's true for AI too. It is really, but I still don't understand your first point about over-promising. So maybe we can come back to that. But in terms of the second point about the human touch, I couldn't agree more. It is so important for technology to do those things that technology can do, and people to do that thing that people can do. The problem is, most of the time, we don't know where to apply the human energy and where not to apply the human energy. So what we do is we throw that human energy at everything, which is incredibly inefficient, like super inefficient. So technology is there to help you determine what needs human attention and what doesn't. And if you're not using technology for that reason, or with that goal in mind, then I would argue, yeah, you're going to run into some gap of performance.
Yeah, the other thing I'd say there too is just thinking about scale, right? And I think that, of course, in an ideal world, we could connect directly one-on-one with each other as humans and interact and provide the absolute highest level of member service and engage directly at a human level with every member. But as you grow it as an association, and depending on your size, it starts to become very unrealistic to be able to do that. So to Dave's point, it's all about how can technology help with that? How can I make sure that you are putting the energy toward in the right way and having those in-person moments and that direct communication? So if done right, technology should be helping with that. And your first point's taken, Mona, for sure. Like, technology doesn't always deliver up to the level of promise. From the sales pitch that you get through to actual implementation and delivery. But
I can give you a specific example too. This Association of University Cardiologists, it has a limited number of members. And so every year they go through this member nomination and vetting and selection process. And this is a new client for us. So they had done this totally by hand before. Somebody would contact the staff, even though there wasn't really much staff, and say, hey, I want to nominate, Joe so-and-so. Well, so, we talked with the board and said, I think we can do this via a form. So we set up a form. It's really not that difficult. And none of the members so far in the last 3 weeks have filled out the form. They email us, they call us, can you call me at home at night? And there's always, some situation they want to discuss. So having the form and trying to collect the information that way it's not going to work.
Well, what's interesting is it may not, this is really interesting. I mean, you have a goal and it's not helping you accomplish the goal, but you know what it is doing? Is it's opening a line of dialogue between you and members that really have something to say to you. It is my opinion that we don't, and this is, maybe I'm starting the PropFuel pitch too soon here, but it's my opinion that we do not listen enough to members. We do a lot of talking at members. We don't listen enough to members. That's a whole premise behind what I've built PropFuel around, is centered around listening better. And the mere fact that you go out asking people for more information and their initial response is, wait, I want to tell you something. It tells me there's a demand there to be listened to more. That's interesting. I have lots of ideas on how you can achieve your goal of collecting information, but my observation there is people want to talk to you.
And it is an opportunity. It's great. I don't know this client or the members very well, so that's great. But then on the other side, you've got a board saying, you should not be spending time on this. This should be a no-brainer. So
yeah, it's interesting. The demographics of membership play such an interesting role there too, right? In terms of, how what is the demographic? Is it, what is their profile and what is their relationship to technology?
Or you can guess it's older. It's an honorary cardiologist.
Exactly. And so it's really interesting as you look from an engagement strategy there. You have to, figure out how can you meet them where they are. Like, in what way are you most likely to get a response? And it sounds like in this case, digital and technology is maybe a challenge for that group.
Any other comments or thoughts around Mona's initial comment? All right. What I'd like to do is we have a rough agenda. This agenda is centered around this process to that will help you. It's a process to focus, to get you to slow down and as they say in the entrepreneurship world, to think about what you're doing, or what is it, work on the business instead of in the business. That's what I hear all the time. It actually, I heard it so much it got annoying to hear it, but I do like the meaning of that. Let's work on the business and a little less in the business. And so there's a process for that, and there's no magic here. This is not from a book. This is just a process that I built out of my experience over the years. And I put it in the chat at 1:16, so about 10 minutes ago. It all centers around this idea that we do need to slow down to speed up. And I wrote a blog post on this. I'm happy to send it out. If you'd like me to send you a copy of this blog post, just send me your email, DM me your email, or just put it in the chat. But the idea is you need to slow down to speed up. And I broke this down into 4 or 5 or 6 steps. Number 1, focus on strategic goals. So I want to have a little discussion around strategic objectives and goals in a strategic plan. Number 2, identify what are the core problems. Where does it hurt? And that's kind of the negative side of it, but we need to understand, like, where does it hurt before we can understand what are the opportunities. So the 3rd step would be to prioritize opportunities. Look at this as with, this is where I go back to the process. Let's look at the way we're doing things, the as-is process and the to-be process, and where are there the biggest gaps that will have the greatest impact on our organization. The 4th, the 4th step is to educate yourself, which everybody here, I can tell you right now, everybody here, you're not the ones that need to hear that. There's a lot of people that are so stuck in their business. You guys are not the ones that are stuck in your business. You guys are the ones that are thinking about how to improve your organization. And I love that. But there's a lot of people out there, we have to remind them, keep yourself educated, learn more as it's related to those opportunities. And the 5th step, is to optimize, automate, and outsource. Now that one I did get from a book. A friend of mine wrote a book about productivity, and he broke productivity into 3 parts. So I want to talk. Those are the 5 or 6 steps that that I thought we could structure the conversation today around. And by all means, I much prefer to take it where you guys want to go. So Mona, thank you for bringing that up. If there's something else somebody wants to ask or discuss, we can take an exit and go that path. In the meantime, though, let's start with strategic planning. So I'm very curious, show of hands or in the chat, do you or your board, actually, there's multiple questions in here. Do you have a strategic plan for the year that you're working with? I think most people do, correct? Let me ask a different question. Is there anyone that does not have a strategic plan, either from board or leadership? You don't, Mona. God, Mona, you're going to be a problem child today, aren't you?
Yeah. This is not by choice. These are both organizations that were self-managed until recently. So
yeah,
we're getting there with strategic plans.
Hey, Carol, I don't know if forgive me, Carol, if you're not totally engaged in this conversation right now. I think, if I'm not mistaken, you're a one-person shop. If you can unmute, do you have a strategic plan for AOCR?
There's 3.5 of us. And
okay.
We do have a strategic plan.
And do you guys come up with that, or does your board, or a combination?
Oh, thank goodness. Sorry, the thing finally shut down. I can hear you. I lead a lot of things, but the board's the one that approves everything.
Thank you. Okay. Bob, you're an executive director, is that right?
CEO.
CEO, okay. How do you come up with your strategic plan? Do you do it with your leadership, or how involved is the board?
Well, the strategic plan that we have is a kind of second generation off of the one that was originally developed in 22, and we basically had it facilitated. So we had a third party come in and facilitate the process with the board and myself and another staff. We've been left as a staff to pretty much, kind of take care of it, monitor it, update it, and then, responsible for the report outs.
And is it an annual plan? Is it a multi-year plan?
Well, it's right now it's annual. I'd like to be able to get out to about 3 years, but some of the demands that we have going on right now, annual is about as far out as we can look.
So Carol says in the chat, she simplified hers down to strategic goals each year. A big strategic plan seemed to bog my board out. Yeah. At PropFuel, we use a system. We kind of use the OKR, objectives and key results process, where we look at, I have a 3-year vision for our company. With a software company, going any further out than that is madness. But so we have a 3-year plan, but we really focus our energy on 1 year. And then we even take it down to a quarterly objective place, where each quarter we meet to identify what do we need to do this quarter to hit our goals for the year. And we try to dumb it down to some very, very high level objectives and then drill down from there. Anyone else want to talk about their strategic planning process?
Yeah, I saw Amy mentioned in the comments that they just finished their strategic planning and working on developing an operation, like a 1-year operational plan to make it happen. So I think, Amy, that's pretty common. It's like what Dave's really describing and what we do at Wicket as well. Is like we look out, let's say 3 years, and put together a broad vision and strategy there, and then work back to say, okay, well, what needs to be true? What objectives do we have for this coming year operationally in order to put us in a position to achieve that longer term vision? And the OKR system Dave mentioned, we use it too, is really great. Like that was started by Intel back few decades ago, and then Google adopted it, and it really became popular in tech circles where we live. But it's really about setting, annual objectives, which are very high level, but then within each objective, having very measurable key results, right? Something you can really measure against. And then throughout the year, you're checking in every quarter, like, what are the things we're doing towards those key results? How are we progressing and getting that really great cycle and rhythm going? It's a really great tool set to use. I'm curious if any of you as associations use as you're thinking about your strategic plan or your operational plan, if you are setting key results and checking in like on a quarterly cadence like that to see how you're doing,
or even a monthly or weekly
even
basis.
monthly. Yeah, for sure.
We have weekly leadership team meetings and a scorecard to identify like how many demos have we done, what are something around the financials, and how much new opportunity revenue have we seen, things that matter to a software company. Anybody doing that on a weekly, monthly, or quarterly basis? What are you doing, Ginger?
As an organization, similar to what Carol's association did, which is it's kind of funny. Our organization has simplified our strategic plan down to really strategic goals. But then in the IT department, we also have a strategic plan that aligns with our organization's strategic plan. And it's more detailed than our organization's strategic plan, but we're doing things like measuring our gaps and assessing where our current state and future state, and then looking at those items that we don't go to as much in our strategic goals. But each goal is organizational. So we have 6 of those, and then each department has some what we call tactics that support that goal, and each tactic has a KPI associated with it. And then as a department, when we get down to like our micro plan, we update that every 2 weeks. That goes up to the CFO, who is the leader above me. So he has every 2 weeks, he has an update on our initiatives that are part of the IT department. And then as an organization, we have our quarterly updates that go to the board on that, or sort of a roll up of our tactics for a measure of how we're achieving our goals for the year.
So the reason we're talking about this right now is because this is the foundation of where, in theory, you should be focusing all of your attention. And if you're doing things that are not going to help advance you, this is what I've heard from coaches and my partner Cameron. If you're doing things that aren't getting you closer to one of those goals, you need to evaluate whether or not you should be doing it. Why are you doing something that doesn't get you closer to one of your goals?
Yeah,
now,
it's a good point. Like you really on a day-to-day basis should be able to see the work you're doing or any member of your team is doing all the way out to that strategic plan and where you're trying to go as an organization.
Which answers the question of, should I do a demo with PropFuel or Wicket? Like that's ultimately when, and I say that I'm not trying to be funny there. It is a little cutesy, I guess. But when you get emails from people at PropFuel or from people at Wicket saying, hey, we're doing this really cool thing, you want to see it? Can we show you how other organizations are doing this? And if that doesn't align with something in your strategic plan, then the answer is easy. No, I'm not interested this year. But on the other hand, if it does appeal to something or it does align with something in your strategic plan, then that's where the education component comes in. Just because you do a demo doesn't mean you have to buy something. Of course, we may nag you and might get a little annoying, but you guys, the education component, and you can also self-educate. Let's go on to the next point. So from the strategic plan, you should be able to identify where are the biggest gaps in our capabilities right now. Maybe one piece of your strategic goal is to grow the organization or increase retention. Maybe your first year retention rates are awful, or maybe your conference attendance is very low. Can somebody give me an example of something that's kind of clear and obvious that they need to work on that comes out of their strategic plan? Renee had no idea what she was coming into here. Hi, Renee.
Hello.
Any examples? Like, give me some example of something that comes out of, because I mean, I could make them up, but I'd much rather deal with a real one. What's something yeah, go ahead, Bob.
I would just say, I mean, for our purposes, we've got our membership is not, it's representative of different stations in one's career. And so retention at the point where an individual moves from student into a trainee and then actually is then thrust into the actual practice of the profession, at that point in time, that gap is really our retention is where we need to have the biggest opportunity for it.
That's such a great example. It's because it's super specific. And so Lisa said retention over here too, but Lisa, like what Bob's talking about is retention of a very specific segment of his membership.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's a great example. So now you've identified a core problem. Lisa too has identified a core problem. Maybe for Lisa, their retention's 60, 65%. Maybe it's lower, maybe a little higher, but they want it to be higher. Right, so there's a problem to focus on. So the opportunity, now the question is then going on to that next opportunity, prioritize opportunities. And by the way, the timing for this, I have no idea. If we're done in 10 minutes, we're done in 10 minutes is great. If you guys have to leave, I'm not offended. If you want to take off, we won't go longer than the hour we've blocked off for this. But if we're done in 10 minutes from now, Jeff, you good to hanging up or
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
it's all good. It's all good.
So the prioritizing opportunities now, if you look at all these problems that we have outlined in our objectives and our strategic plan, now we can start to see where is the greatest opportunity for us. So if we were to allocate funds being time too, right? Money, time, people, all your resources. What kind of resources are you going to allocate to each of these problems based on how much impact you can have on the organization if you improve that particular opportunity? And so what that requires, though, is looking at the as is and to be process. Or you could just guess, right? Like guessing is sometimes pretty accurate too. But if you map out what are we doing today and what should we be doing, now you start to see that gap in between, and it starts to say, okay, well, retention is actually a much bigger opportunity for us to solve than conference attendance. Or, I don't know, I can't think of another one off the top of my head.
Yeah, I think a really interesting tool that's used I'm just thinking of our team and how we think about prioritization and where we're going to put resources and focus. A concept of value over effort is a really powerful tool for prioritization. You could even say impact over effort, like looking at something and looking at a series of items and saying, okay, of these items, which of them do we think has the perceived, it's subjective, but which one has the perceived highest level of value? And you might rank them in terms of the value or impact they're going to have. And then you say, okay, well, to achieve that, how much effort do we think? And effort can be, it can be small, medium, large, right? It doesn't have to be super granular. But then you can derive a simple calculation to say, okay, well, which one scores best? Like the lowest value, or sorry, the lowest effort for the highest value, right? Because we all have scarce resources, no matter who we are. And so value over effort, impact over effort is just an interesting tool to use in your toolkit to think about how might you prioritize things that are going to have the most impact.
You know what I love about that, Jeff, is that gives you clarity in what to say no to, and what to say yes to. And as much as I don't want to hear no's from all of you guys when you get our emails of like, hey, you want to consider PropFuel, a no is way better than a meandering maybe one day yes, right? So like the clarity that gives you the educated knowledgeable um, decision to say no. That's very poorly stated, but you know what I mean. That's what I think you're talking about there, Jeff. If you can identify and quantify the value in one way or another, quantify the value of moving forward with a certain project over another, now you know what to say yes to and what to say no to.
Yep.
So again, what we've got now is we got the strategic plan. I just want to go through what we've discussed at the highest level right now. You got the strategic plan that you may or may not have been a part of creating, but you know what's important to the organization. Number two, you've identified the problems that you're trying to solve as related to the objectives in the strategic plan. And number three, you've figured out which problems yield the greatest return if they were solved. And that helps prioritize these objectives, right? Now is the fun one. And this is something none of you guys need to hear, which is educate yourselves. And there's a couple of ways to educate yourselves. There's any software company you go out to is going to die to show you a demo. We love doing demos. Demos are the things that we get to talk about, like all the cool stuff we've been working on forever and how it applies to your organization and so on. Of course, I think, how many of you guys are kind of like, scared is the wrong word, but like don't feel like doing demos because you feel like you're going to get wrapped into something? And sincere, like I kind of fall in that category, where I don't really want to do a demo because then it's like I'm leading them on. Yeah.
Yeah, there's some of that.
Carmen agrees with that. Yeah, I get that. But you can also do your own research, and a lot of organizations have videos. We could do better at that at PropFuel. Jeff, do you use videos well for educating?
Not as well as we should.
I know it's a little harder than like writing a blog post or something. We could do much better at that. Allowing you guys to self-educate yourselves, but educating yourself, it requires you to dedicate some time to reading, thinking. Like I said in the very beginning, remember I showed you my calendar. It has that 2-hour chunk on Thursday mornings for thinking. By the way, every morning when I wake up over a cup of coffee, I'm reading every single morning over a cup of coffee. And I'm reading my newsletters that I get. I go through Collaborate, the emails that I get from Collaborate at ASAE. So some of it is very, very specific to our industry, and some of it is very, very broad, where I'm reading about what's going on in Ukraine or in the Gaza Strip. But dedicating time to reading and listening. But now let's come back to these points. When you have your strategic goals and you've identified the problems and you've prioritized these opportunities, now it's time to educate yourself about these opportunities. And it's really, really important. I think, and I'm saying that from my worldview. With PropFuel, we've created this product that is extremely unique. Nobody would know about it unless you educated yourself on it. It is not something generally you're going to see out there. There's not a lot of competition for it. It's that we do one thing very, very well. And if you're looking at like a lot of these broad marketing systems, you're not going to see it. And that's where education comes in. Look at what's going on in your industry. See what other people are doing. Read, collaborate. So that's the education component. How many of you guys read Collaborate regularly?
That's ASAE Collaborate, their online community.
Yeah, the community.
In Canada, CSAE has an equivalent too for the folks in Canada, but ASAE is quite vibrant. A lot of great content there.
Yeah. Oh, sometimes it drives me bonkers though. Honestly, it's like just a step above Facebook. Sometimes.
But that's an example of a great resource. And there's so many great online resources. And, I think just technology itself is a rabbit hole you can go down, with education these days. And I think like some of the advancements we're seeing in technology now, it's unbelievable, right? Like we're all exposed now to AI and the impact it's having with tools like ChatGPT. Like I use ChatGPT every day now, probably on average at least 10 times a day. I'm probably
Get out of here.
asking
That's amazing.
ChatGPT a question. Like it's amazing once you start getting the habit of using a tool like that. How it's, I don't know if addictive is not the right word. It's just, it's so useful. It's very different than using like just Googling something. Because you're getting a direct answer. And of course, you have to be careful with the types of things you're asking it, because you might not always get, 100% accuracy. But it is amazing how phenomenal is a tool. Like when you talk about, Dave, you mentioned, writing a blog or creating video, like I would not write a blog today start to finish on my own. I would get ChatGPT to help me write it. I'd give it an outline and say, can you fill this in for me? And I have to edit it, but it's going to get it 95% of the way there based on what I feed it. Like, it's just a really powerful tool. And that's just one example, of how, technology can help you. So technology can help you do the learning as well, right? Like tools like ChatGPT, super resourceful to give you a frame of reference, because sometimes you don't even know what to ask or what you're looking for. And it's amazing how broad of a question you can ask a tool like ChatGPT, and it'll help to start guide you to then where you want to go next and what you might want to start thinking about. So yeah, great tool.
So tell me something here in the audience, whether it's in chat or just say it out loud. What do you read? Where do you get your education, either in our space or even more broadly? Like what do you read in the mornings? How did you find out about this webinar?
Yeah, inbox. Lots of people.
Are you guys webinar junkies? Do you sign up for a lot of these things? Paul, yes. Ooh, Mona says no. Mona, why did you sign up for this one then?
I did see it in the inbox, and certainly this is a problem I'm dealing with every day, is we're not getting the basics done. We're spread really thin. So yeah.
Michelle says Sidecar Association Brain Food. So Sidecar is run by Blue Cypress, and Blue Cypress owns Digital Now as well. Digital Now is coming up end of November, mid to late November, I think. So that's right around the corner. They're a super source for technology development. We're not going to be there. PropFuel's not going to be there, but that's a cool conference. Collaborate, email, Bloomberg News, Tagoras, I can't remember what he says it, Jeff. It's in the learning space, and other newsletters. Oh, Morning Brew, Coulter. I love Morning Brew.
Oh, yeah.
ASAE, VSAE, trade journals and emails. Yeah. I get Hustle, which I think is HubSpot's newsletter. It's really good, though. I'm not a huge fan of HubSpot. We use it, but I don't love it. All right. The
associations now. Yeah, associations now there's an element of AI to that. It as you engage with it, click on links within the associations now email newsletter, it then over time starts to recommend articles, so it starts to customize.
Is that Rasa?
To you, that's Rasa. That's fine. Yeah.
So, God, association now. I find, never mind. I'm gonna keep it.
I agree. I don't like it.
Keep it positive. That's what I'm gonna do. But I'll say this. I don't feel as though associations now is on the cutting edge of innovation. That's all I'll say about my opinion there. It's interesting to keep a finger on the pulse, but I've yet to see something really creative and innovative in there.
Right.
All right. Last topic I want to focus on is this book. 1 second. If I don't have it right here. Oh, I think I got it. Nope. All right. So I got this great book from a friend of mine. His name is Ari Meisel, Meisel or Miesel. And Ari is a productivity guy. And several years ago, he wrote this book that was centered around optimize, automate, and outsource. And I love this mentality. He gets into inbox zero and all that stuff with all the productivity people are into. But the philosophy of optimize, automate, and outsource is really cool when you're looking at a process. So if you define that as is and to be process, you've got optimize, which means let's make the process better, take away things that are unnecessary, ask why a lot. You know who's really good at this? Elon Musk. I'm listening to his book right now. What a wacko. This guy is fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. 26 hours of juice in this book, by the way, if you listen to it like I do. It's just so interesting. But he's really good at cutting things because he constantly asks, why are we doing that? Why are we doing that? And if it's not absolutely critical, he cuts it. His philosophy is cut and add back 10%. And if you haven't added back 10%, then you didn't cut enough. So optimizing is this idea of let's simplify things, dumb it down. Then automating and outsourcing is what you do with something that's been optimized. So once we optimize something, what can we do that's going to, what components of that can we automate? And Mona, of course, this comes into play with where's that human touch and what do you want to do in terms of what should people be doing versus what the machine should be doing. And then of course outsource is if somebody can, if it requires human and somebody can do it cheaper than us, then we should get them to do it, assuming the productivity is on par. So that's this concept of optimize, automate, outsource. And a great resource for outsourcing is virtual assistants. A totally underutilized resource for cookie cutter process sort of things. If you can document a process for it and it's hard to mess up, then you can outsource it to a VA who would be very happy to have the work.
Yeah, Dave, on the optimized topic, like it makes me think of when we work with associations, a lot of our focus ends up around membership and membership processes and workflows. And when you start to ask why, you get a lot of interesting responses because in a lot of associations, a lot of the business rules and workflows and processes around membership have tend to slowly grow over very long periods of time. And then when you stop and look at it, you say, oh, wow, we've created a very complicated membership process for requirements and eligibility and all kinds of interesting things. And I think that it's an area that often when we're going through a project with customers, that is the trigger for them to stop and say, oh, wow, we hadn't really looked at all of this. Why are we doing it? Why is it this complicated? So I think there's all kinds of examples like that in associations where things have been done the same way just because they've always been done that way. And there's lots of opportunities to pause and ask, why are we doing it that way? You know, if we make this small change that is slightly different from what we do, but it's going to create all these downstream efficiencies for us as an organization, you should really be considering those things.
Jeff, can you take that? We're in the last 5 minutes now, maybe 90 seconds or so, and I'll take it for 90 seconds. Talk about Wicket. What does Wicket do? And I really, by the way, I love seeing you guys all here. I really love this dialogue. A little choppy. I've never done this before. Jeff and I, this is the first time I'm doing this, so it's a little choppy. But I hope it was valuable for you. I hope it got you thinking about some things. Now's the pitch time. Jeff, how does you started to say it there, so I want you to continue on. Like, how does this discussion today relate to Wicket?
Yeah, I'll give you kind of the quick idea of what Wicket is and does. So we really bring a couple of solutions to associations. First is a membership database. So we call it a member data platform. So really it's all about storing your data in a good hub that can integrate with other systems. So when we think about automations, we want your email marketing system to just have the right data all the time. So you can just go use it, your marketing person go use it, get their job done. So we want your membership data to be able to be easily integrated with other systems. And then we also bring a web and e-commerce solution to our customers as well. So often we're looked at as an alternative to association management software. So instead of the big monolithic AMS systems, we bring a more agile approach to technology for association, combining the membership database with really powerful web and e-commerce tooling. And we're working with folks like ASAE and CSAE here in Canada as well to roll out our solutions for them. So,
and I just put in the blog post that inspired this webinar today, or this discussion today. If you're interested in seeing some, again, these are my thoughts that led to this discussion. It also takes you to the PropFuel website where we host our blog. And PropFuel in a nutshell is a listening system. It's generally speaking, membership people love PropFuel. Marketing it tends to be kind of second on our list in terms of the people that are intrigued and interested in using it. But it does one thing, and it does it really, really well. One thing, and it listens to members. It captures insight, and it allows you to personalize messaging to them better. And so we do that in the member acquisition process, in the new member onboarding process, in the renewal process, in the lapsed member win back. And I know some of you guys are, actually several of you are already clients of ours, but member win back process. And then, and here's a really cool one that's kind of unrelated to all those, which is profile building. And Mona, this speaks very, very closely to what you were talking about, where you have these forms that you want people to fill out. We have a methodology of capturing information and writing it back to the AMS automatically, just by sending emails out, allowing people to plug information, and it writes it back without them having to log in or anything. So profile building is a big part of what we do. And that's our pitch. Super automated. Our job is to let the technology handle the vast majority of your members. So Mona, so you can identify who needs that human touch. That's what PropFuel's there to do. With that, any comments, questions, thoughts before we wrap?
Thank you for the discussion.
I hope it was valuable. This is kind of, I'm wondering if we should do this again. But I don't want to make everybody uncomfortable.
No,
I don't know how
fun.
to ask
I think it's
that.
fun.
Should we do this again? But
yeah, it's always good to have these types of conversations, and I love it when we get a group like this. Then we can actually have some dialogue instead of just doing a presentation. So
you guys have a great day. Thanks for joining. Really appreciate it.
All right, thanks
you all.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye everyone.
Thanks. See you.